since we don't have a rabbi coming in to teach us today, I'm going to go ahead and kick this off. This is now my
YouTube videos?
fourth part in a 4-part series. Okay, it's called The New Jew in You, Part 4. All right, so I've written out 5 questions. Okay, this is definitely an impromptu class. I don't have anything planned really. But what I did is I like to write out questions that I have that I'm going through in my connection to Judaism. So I wrote out 5 questions. Question 1 is the questions about the commentaries. Okay, we talk about the Gemaras and stuff like that a lot. I have a big hang up with the Gemaras. I have a big problem with a lot of the stuff they've written in the commentaries. You see Connor, I think Ellie as well. I mean, there's so much, there's walls and walls of books about the history of the Jewish people and what they were hoping that we would take from their religion. I don't necessarily agree with everything they write. So my suggestion to myself right now is to not really focus on the Gemara. That's why I want to stay in this Foundations program for a while. This program will give us an opportunity to really learn the Hebrew text and then go back and forth with our rabbis, not in the base, just kind of asking questions instead of opening the books and learning what those rabbis wrote. We got to formulate our own opinions about the religion before we start to hear the answers that rabbis from 2,000 years ago gave us, right? So, how do you guys feel about the commentary? Have you guys ever had any issues with a specific law about kashrut or a Shabbos law or anything you guys want to discuss? Ellie, what's one of your big hang-ups? Let's start with Shabbos, because I know you're not keeping Shabbos consistently now, but at some point you were. So where can we focus to get you back on track? What's one of your big hang-ups of keeping Shabbos every week?
I'm just not caring anymore.
You're just not caring. So what could you do to allow yourself to care?
Well, that's the problem. I'm telling other people that, and that's the thing to respond with. And my answer to that is, you can't, how can you make someone care about something they don't care about in the first place? Okay,
so we're going to look at it from this perspective. The caring about Shabbos that you're talking about is the fully enveloped 39 laws of Shabbos that the rabbis gave to us, all the malacha and everything. My suggestion for you right now is to just focus on your actual connection, right? You, yourself. Not to necessarily worry about the laws or leaving your phone at home or this, that, and the other. Just know that you want to keep your Shabbos every week, okay? Put your phone away. If you feel the need to go back and get your phone, that's fine. Start to formulate your own version of Shabbos. I'm not saying create your own religion, but start to understand the best points of Shabbos and envelop those and make those bigger aspects of Shabbos for you.
Okay, so what I got from what you just said, which is pretty nice, but some stuff I couldn't agree. What you said, like, start to keep Shabbat in this way, I'm like still thinking, why should I take that approach?
Okay.
But what I could take away from what you said is how you said, start to develop your own look,
This is what I'm saying. Over time, you're going to start to reassess all of the things that are necessary for a Shabbos-keeping Jew.
Right. So I'm thinking,
right now it's about pick 2 things, and then for you, keeping Shabbos will be those 2 things.
So like one of them could be, for example, Friday night, families together at the dinner table, don't bring the phone there, keep yourself on the phone, obviously I have to.
100%.
And just be involved with the family.
See, what it is you came from a yeshivish background. You came from a place where, you told me this story once, where you had to wrap your tefillin all tight and yank them and get the marks on your arms just so that you could go down and say, Rabbi, look, I wrapped my tefillin, let me eat my breakfast now.
Right.
That's not good.
Right.
I don't suggest that for anyone. If you guys have kids, V'srat Hashem soon,
Amen.
don't put them through like a hellish yeshiva system. Find a place that's conducive to your views, to the way you're going to raise them. Because a lot of kids, they get torn, right? They'll get sent to a yeshiva that's having them wrap tefillin and daven 3 times a day, but then they'll go home and their parents are keeping Shabbos, okay? So it's like, we got to make sure that we have the same connection in our homes that we do in our schools and the places that we're educating our children and ourselves, right? So if we're educating ourselves here and we're committed to this process, let's just try and focus in on, okay, we're going to keep Shabbos. It's super easy to keep Shabbos in Jerusalem.
No lie.
No lie. Like, we would all individually have to go so far out of our way to break Shabbos here.
When you got a phone, anywhere in the world.
No, but this is what I'm saying. So it seems like you can easily go back to that one aspect of Shabbos, which 2,000 years ago when they wrote the 39 Shabbos laws,
Phone wasn't there.
Phone wasn't there. Electricity wasn't there. I mean, the main distractions weren't there. So I don't necessarily think that in the Gemara and the Midrash and all the Talmudic scholars that they wrote this stuff down thinking, oh good, 2,000 years from now they're going to have major distractions. I feel like they were they were surrounded by so many distractions of their own time that if they didn't create those fences then...
But this is the equivalent to now.
Right, so we're looking at the old words. It'd be like if you asked one of our rabbis to translate the Gemaras into like an updated version, you know, and recreate all the laws around our electricity and all of this. Then we would have a real argument's chance of saying, okay, I don't agree with that. Instead of it, we're basing our electricity laws off of creating a spark,
Right.
you know, or we're basing our milk and meat off of a don't cook the baby in the mother's milk, when all of those lessons could have totally been misinterpreted. Sure, they're all Talmudic scholars, they all know the Torah, they all know kind of what they were talking about.
That's actually, that specific subject is the class we're trying to get to right now, but he's not here, so.
Is it?
Regarding like how we can interpret what the rabbis are saying, why there's so many disagreements in the Torah, and how...
Well, it's like this. There's not one subject I could bring up where all of us would agree.
No.
Not one.
No,
Like Daniel and I, no chance. He wants to jump off a roof. I don't want to jump off that roof. You know, like...
No, I'm saying
You guys are wrong. I convinced them already, though.
I made him jump off a roof. That's detailed, you know, very, in detail it tells you exactly what you can
So, how does
not
he
do.
get down?
Yeah.
Then you could really detract, you know, take from it what it was saying.
Yeah. Okay. Do you guys have any questions about the commentaries? Do you guys have like an opinion or a view or an outlook that you want to share with us?
Like,
The end
how
of the
come
day
we
is
can
looking at
can light a candle on Chag but not on Shabbat?
Well, I'm not a scholar. I'm not going to be able to answer those questions. But it's good that we've got the questions.
Being
Though.
on a Yom Tov
So-
and not on a Shabbos?
So these questions, that's a great question. Why is there certain restrictions that are on Shabbos that aren't on your Chag and your Tovs and all of your, you know, some of the other holidays and stuff? And those all, see, this is what I'm getting at when I say that the commentaries sometimes can make things,
Like
some things right and something exactly like. Did they give themselves the loopholes back then for the Chags and the Yom Tovs just so that on those Chags and Yom Tovs it allowed them a little bit more freedom to express themselves or to have their cigarette or to light their candles or transfer flames from one place to another? So that's a great question. These are questions that we should kind of bring up to the rabbis. That's an amazing
If
question.
you
Okay,
break two scholars,
We're going to go on to question 2. I feel like we've covered question 1 enough. The question 2 is physical versus spiritual connection. Okay? Physical meaning, obviously, mentally connecting with a woman before you're supposed to be married to her, or physically getting closer than you should in proximity. I deal with this, and I struggle with this so hard, okay? I'm 30, almost 31.
12 hours.
10 hours, 31. Thank you guys. Woo! I deal with this problem a lot, okay? Because the spiritual side of me, if you ask Rabbi Berger at 13 years old, we were still a child, but then it's like we're half child and brand new adult, you know? I still stand here today feeling like I'm mostly child. And I am, because I'm 13 years advanced on my child life than my adult life, okay? The physical side of me is always trying to pull itself out. You know, whether or not it's being physically combative with you guys or going and talking to a girl and wanting to hug her or kiss her or touch her, whatever, you know. Those are aspects of our lives that we have to figure out. And this comes down to, again, asking yourself true and honest questions. You know, where are you trying to go? What kind of wife do you want in your life? Do you want the kind of wife that you know is completely connected?
How about this? I've had these questions too. I just don't know what steps I have to take to find out the answer. Because number one,
Answer this question. Do you want a physical or a spiritual wife?
I don't know.
Would you... So in the answer to that question, who are you? Are you a physical or a spiritual person?
Like more like spiritual, religious, or physical, religious?
Exactly. Physically driven to emotional and sexual connection, or spiritually driven to connection to the Torah and connection to your family and connection to your children.
I know that's
Now-
spiritual because they could do a bunch of stuff.
Exactly. If you were to ask any one of the rabbis, like Yom Tov would tell us in real clear words, I'm not referencing anybody specific, but I did already say Rabbi Yom Tov, but it doesn't matter. He has told us many times before, when the door is closed behind you and your wife, no holds barred.
The what?
No holds barred. The limits are off. You know, that's your time to be as physical and intimate and spiritual with your wife as you could ever dream of. right? But it's about putting yourself in that spiritual, mental frame of mind so that when you meet that woman, you're able to ask the important questions, right? The questions that you need answered at 21 or at 24 or at 31 that are going to be crucial to us saying this person is conducive to my life moving forward in a spiritual and happy way.
One goal, you have to both reach it.
Exactly. So when you sit down, it's not about saying, have you ever been to Toy Bar in Jerusalem? Okay, we've all been to Toy Bar. That doesn't matter. Forget Toy Bar for a second. It's about finding out where she's been in her life and where she wants to go.
How do you know where you want? Because I feel something.
If you don't know where you want to go, but that's why it's important. The fact that you're here, the fact that you're still here is so important to your process. You already wanted to go home many times. You might be sitting here now and it's like, I still want to go home. But you're not home and you're here working still.
It doesn't matter. I still know that my date going home is very soon. And I don't feel like I've actually reached any logical conclusion as to how I'm going to live my life.
Yeah, but the date to go home is just a date. That's an imposed time frame that has been set on you by either yourself or an. Can you move that chair so that the freaking guy that walks in and out of the room every 2 seconds doesn't knock it around?
Sorry.
It's better when you sleep in class. I know, I'm serious. YouTube, I'm very sorry. I'm not going to tell you who that is, but this guy drives me nuts. Anyway.
Moving on.
You see how he sits in here not paying attention, reading his book, not bothering anybody? I'm going to have to edit this out of my video now. It's like my...
Just continue.
It only matters to me because I'm the one trying to give you a piece of my time. And you could be anywhere else in the world right now disrespecting somebody else that doesn't care about you or love you like I do.
I'm listening.
Now you are.
Undivided attention.
Now you are.
That
was masterfully manipulative.
Okay, Jews hating other Jews.
All right.
Next topic. Convenient. We're going to roll into that one pretty smoothly. Okay, so what I just did to Daniel wasn't real. It was a prime example of Jews hating Jews. Okay?
I hate him.
No, but it's the animosity that you can easily fall into, okay? It's the fact that within a drop of a dime, I can go from feeling indifferent or whatever about somebody to like the veins are popping out of my neck wanting to smash the guy into the wall. These kind of switches are not conducive to moving the Jewish people forward, okay? Seriously, when we look at the infighting that happens at the Kotel, just 3 days ago I was down at the Kotel and the women of the wall were down there, okay? And I was there, yeah. No. First of all, the women of the wall, gotta love them, I guess, but they're not lookers for the most part. There's no editing. The whole thing's going up raw. That's how it is. It's up. It's for my mom, so she's gonna hear me talking bad. So.
You have views on YouTube though, so.
Yeah, it's okay. My suggestion is do everything in your power, at least for the Jewish people. If your objective in coming back to this yeshiva is to find out if the Mashiach will come, if the Torah is real, if the connections you're making with your roommates are real and they're going to be things that will carry on, you have to be open with them, and you have to love them, and you have to love yourself. All three of those things are really important. You know, so like when my friend Daniel wants to jump off of a roof and I tell him not to and he decides not to listen, that is Daniel showing the respect to me that I'm showing to him, right? It's me not showing respect to him and him not showing it to me. It's a two-way street. Everyone in this room we need to be best friends with each other. And with the strangers too, and with the people that you give tzedakah to. You have to formulate those connections in a real way. So that you know when you leave, that other Jew is feeling so inspired by the positivity that you brought into their situation. You don't know if me standing up here is going through something, God forbid, really tragic, but that you put on this face. You just don't know what the person you're dealing with is going through. You wouldn't know by looking at Hadaro that he lost his glasses unless you knew that his glasses were gone, right? It's that simple. You just have to assume that every person is dealing with something and they need to be like loved and cared for and embraced. Every aspect of them.
Amen.
Every aspect of them. Okay? Like my friend Yonatan out there. He's not listening.
Yonatan!
Yonatan!
He gone.
No, he's not listening. Okay. So, can one of you guys give me an example of in your life where you experienced Jews hating other Jews and what we can learn from that lesson?
Ooh, Sephardi Jews love shit-talking Ashkenaz Jews.
Okay.
There was this guy named Harold.
No, seriously, I'm serious. Give us a real
Make
one.
some happen.
Daniel, please.
Alright, there is
He's
this-
all cocky.
There was a brother, a Jewish brother I had, or have, you may remember, in the sukkah, and basically I was on the phone, and he started talking to me, and I told him to shush, and he ended up saying that it sounds like a personal problem.
Remember this?
I remember this.
When he said it was my problem, that I have a problem, I got into straight defensive mode, and I turned
Sick,
mentally
yeah.
very aggressive.
Very sick. It was a sick transition of emotion, right? So you went from, it was like there was three things going on at once. It was you wanting to come into the sukkah, you wanting a place for peace and quiet, and then you wanting someone else to listen to an aggressive order, like, shh, you know.
I didn't see that as aggressive order.
For sure, but when you're in the middle of something and you're like not even paying attention to anybody and you like, shh, you know, and you're like, that's like, for some people that can be thought of as aggressive.
Sure.
Right? And so when you happen to do it to an aggressive person, you got an aggressive response. And so here's a good thing for next time, just put the phone down, and if it's really that big of a deal, excuse me, brother, I'm on the phone. Would you be down to just keep down a little bit?
Now that's a whole different level of like,
Whole different level of sanity, for
That's
sure.
what we talked about when we were in there, was that some people, you said that you responded that way all your life, people were shushing you.
Yeah, people always do that.
But like when it's with somebody else who their whole life, people might have done what he did and put the phone down and asked nicely, hey, I'm on the phone, can you please just...
That's not normal for me.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why it's different between both sides. I don't know, just pointing that out.
Yeah. Give us an example of Jews hating Jews, Connor. Something that you think is like really preventative to the Jewish people connecting. There's only 13, 14 million of us in the world. There's 7 billion people in this world. We make up like 0.001 something percent of the entire people on the planet. If we can't even love ourselves, each other, there's no way we're going to be able to ever get any of the anti-Semitic people out there or the uninformed people out there to really start to take a liking or to take an understanding to what it is that we're trying to say.
I got another example.
I feel like an example could be like between like say the Haredi community and a lot of seculars.
Right,
like,
opposing views.
yeah, like with the army, like a lot of people go to Yeshiva and skip out of the army. Like for me, wanting to go to the army, that's like I don't know where I stand on that because Yeshiva's good, but at the same time, I feel like you should serve the country. It's like if some people are giving up their life, then why shouldn't other people actually?
So you feel like it's wrong that some of the Orthodox don't necessarily have to go to the army? Or do you
Yeah.
feel like they should be forced to go?
I feel like everybody's basically forced except for them.
Based off of
Just
It's
law.
mandatory law.
based off of the
So,
fact
like,
that
it's
they
like
believe their
taking
religious connection prevents them. It says in the Torah specifically, there will be a time when you are all called to war. You are all called to battle, and everybody will fight
Yeah, I feel
at
like
that time.
there's physical battle and I
That
feel
was
like
within
there's
the
like
past couple
spiritual.
months, right?
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
God will protect you more if you like learn Yeshiva probably and like try to actively pursue him, but at the same time like you're not helping the rest of everybody else, so you can't just sit back and be like, oh, I'm praying for the soldiers, but I'm not going to fight.
I'm the exception.
So good, but see, so how could we open up a conversation between the two sides that would lead us to a place of understanding, or at least being able to know one side deserves respect and so does the other? What's a suggestion you would have to anyone listening right now that could make a change?
I don't know exactly, like, for me, like, I'll just have people, like, everybody join, like, say you do 2 years, or like I guess they've opened up more
So,
religious
to you,
religious units now.
it would be a blanket requirement, but we would create specific sections of the army that would deal with ultra-Orthodox and ultra-religious.
Yeah, exactly, so like, they'll pray 3 times a day, filling on, they can...
I don't know that the army denies you the right to do that. See, that's where the hang up is.
There are religious sections.
That's what I'm saying, there are religious sections, but
There are
like...
girls that wear skirts, or special sections for girls.
Girls with skirts?
Special sections for guys, where they have the tail and everything.
Military.
They can
Super
shave
religious,
their beard.
separate,
But that's still not everybody.
So they
those
made-
those like the Haredi that want to go and decide to serve. They might even be like shunned by their communities. And like, I don't know, I feel like that's kind of wrong.
Right.
I don't know like a solution for
It's
it.
kind of like
That's
a,
just
one,
a conflict.
one of
that-
the examples that I come up with is the Mea Shearim type neighborhood.
Exactly.
Okay? Like, where if you and I were to go in our beach clothes and we brought American girls that were not modestly dressed, there would be supreme hatred and real fire being spit from the Jews inside of that specific neighborhood, pushed out onto the other Jews.
Exactly.
Right? So that example right there is, in my mind, one of the main reasons why, if we can't get a handle on that, the Mashiach won't come in the capacity that everybody's hoping for. You know, I think the religion has been opened up to a lot of people anyway. A lot more people than 2,000 years ago would have ever contemplated getting into it, based on the fact that we've got everything written down. And I see this as like, I don't want to say it so rudimentary, but that's like the idiot's guide to Judaism. You know, it's like once you read all that and follow all that, boom, you've got everything, you know everything. You know? Exactly. There's so much more than just the stuff. And so 2,000 years ago, before this was written, you actually had to have that physical and mental connection to your yeshiva. It wasn't just go into yeshiva, sit in your havruta, go over a bunch of lines that they wrote 2,000 years ago. No, it was your Rebbe's Rebbe that taught your Rebbe everything he knows. And you're literally learning everything verbatim that rabbi has learned and has processed and spent his entire life breaking down into his soul. Devoting his life to it. Not just, okay, we'll go buy the whole series. You know? Alright, we're moving on. My own Jewish connection. Right. Here's a good question. And this, I think, comes back to the first question, right? It comes back to what was the reason we came here for? Why did we end up... There's 25 of us in this room right now. We all came from different parts of the world. Okay?
Just put 100 people here.
So, hold on. Just tell me real quick. Where are you from?
Charlotte, North Carolina.
Minneapolis.
LA.
The Ukraine.
Atlanta, Georgia.
Los Angeles
New
as well.
York.
Where is your heritage? What's your background?
For half
Polish,
my family's
English?
from Russia and the other half's from Yemen.
Ashkenazi from Germany.
Iran.
Kazakhstan.
Half Iranian, half Polish. Okay? Like literally, you would not have ever imagined that all 25 of us would end up in the same room at the same time learning the same lessons from an amazing, potentially future rabbi like myself. Okay?
Beautiful. Perfect.
Question. For today?
The real question. No, hold on, Daniel. We're in a real thing. You can go outside and play with your hair if you want to. That's fine. We're having class in here. We don't care about the eating pizza pies in the robe thing, right? My suggestion to everybody is to formulate your own version of Judaism. Not to start a new religion, but to find the things that you connect to and really focus on those.
That's a slippery slope, though, because then you end up with Reform Judaism.
See, but here's the thing. You can end up with Judaism or Judaism. Okay?
I feel like
It's
What?
you can end up with like Judaism or like
religion.
Exactly.
Even if you're Reformed Jew, you're still...
Understand, we all didn't come here with the idea of becoming black hat Hasidic, Torah reading Orthodox scholars. Okay? We all came here for different reasons, from different places, and different positions in our lives. During your time here, find out what it is about the brachas and about the kashrut laws and about all of these things that really make a connection to you. Read the Gemaras if you want. Find out what the rabbis were arguing about and which one of their arguments. Find the specific things about this Judaism that is going to resonate with you the best, and allow yourself to take those and make those the biggest and best aspects of you as possible. So it's not about having a black hat, outfit every day or wearing your tzitzit every day. If those aren't the things that make you feel your connection to God, you must find that connection to God though. And if it's not your tzitzit, and if it's not your kippah, if it's not your Shabbos, what is it? If you can't find it, there's no reason to be here. But as long as you're looking for it, you will find what you're looking for. You know what you won't find? You won't find anything you're not asking for. Okay? Just reading the words isn't going to do anything. Right? You could read the words and it could show you a happy time, but unless you're reading that as a happy time, you could take anything emotionally out of a story. Even if the story is telling you positive, rain will come, everything this and that, you could have totally deciphered that in a completely different way. Okay? It's about translating the words you're reading to the way that you're going to connect to it the best when you're out of this environment. This environment is almost like I don't want to say a movie set, but when you're here, you're very indoctrinated in the process. Like we're all keeping Shabbos. We're all doing the Shabbos project next week. We're all going to be in class for 8 hours a day, every day, learning Torah, learning Parsha, learning this. But if we were at home, if we were in Minneapolis, if we were in LA, if we were, back in Iran, there's no way you'd be sitting there over 8 hours a day learning Torah.
Actually, no, you just might be.
So
In the jail cell.
So that's it.
What do you mean?
Be confident in what you've learned and what you're committing yourself to here, that you can move it on to the next level of your life.
On clock, you want to stay.
Yeah, there should be another class right after this. And here is just the final question. I'm just going to move on to this, and it's raising Jewish children. And this comes back to the conversation we just had about your
10
own
kids.
Jewish connection.
10 kids.
Once
10.
you leave this yeshiva, you'll have a great idea of your connection to Judaism. You'll have an amazing understanding of what it is that you want to influence into your children. Now, if one of us leaves here black hat, one of us leaves here just a little bit more Jewish than they came, each one of you guys will raise your kids differently. But as long as you're instilling the Jewish principles that you've connected with into your children, and you let them know that you found something in religion, those kids will move forward very confidently with what they're seeing from you. If your parents are telling you one thing and forcing it all down your throat, and you know that they're not as connected to it, or they don't understand it like that, there will be dissension. There will grow an ever larger distance between you and your parents based on the fact that you're learning something that they either don't know or don't want to know. Right? You could easily have a problem with your parents.
Right.
That's not a problem. Having a problem with your parents is not a problem. That is actually really easy. So understand that, but Baruch Hashem, when you guys all have kids, when I have kids, that we raise them the way confidently and comfortably with their connection to religion, the way that we have taken this opportunity and told ourselves that the religion is this for us and this for us and this for us. For me, it's probably going to be Shabbos. It's probably going to be kosher, but who knows? And so once I'm done with this process, I'll have the answers to how I want to raise my kids. We'll be able to move on into the next stage of our life, which is raising a beautiful family and creating shalom in the house.
Exactly. When you're in Yeshiva, think about raising your kids versus raising.
Anyway, thank you guys. Sorry the rabbi didn't show up today. If you want, I'll be handing out lunch vouchers outside. I've only got 26, so if there's any extras, we'll definitely hand them out.